Pull up a chair. This is Models and Agents, episode 60, on May 26th, 2026. Let's see what shipped. Let's see what happened in the AI world today. And trust me, it's been busy. Local builders can now treat markdown skill files as optimizable parameters with automated validation gates instead of manual tweaking. A new paper formalizes SkillOpt as a method that uses frontier models to propose bounded edits to those markdown skills. Only edits that improve a held-out validation set are accepted. The best skills converge after 1 to 4 accepted edits, and an edit budget of 4 to 8 works best, while removing the cap collapses performance. A skill optimized on Codex transferred directly to Claude Code and gained 59.7 on Spreadsheet Bench. GPT 4.1 Nano with an optimized skill roughly matched frontier performance on procedural tasks. The approach needs an auto-grader with clear, correct answers, which limits it to code and spreadsheets for now. Watch for follow-up work that relaxes the auto-grader requirement. The 35 billion parameter Qwen variant now ships in an uncensored heretic configuration that preserves all 785 MTPs. The 35 billion and 27 billion versions show KL divergences of 0.0487 and 0.0308 with accuracy losses of only 0.40% and 0.35%. The release includes safe tensors, GGUF, NVFP4, and GPTQ int4 formats. The author notes the 35 billion model targets general-purpose use, while the 36 billion version focuses on agentic and coding tasks. Builders wanting an uncensored general-purpose model with preserved thinking tokens should test the Q4 or Q6 GGUF variants. Ron Speech turns a pre-trained LLM into a speech LM through speech module alignment, end-to-end pre-training with knowledge distillation, and multitask preference optimization. Training used 1.38 million hours of English and Korean data. The model tops 8 similarly sized audio foundation models across 42 English and Korean speech and text benchmarks, while keeping strong text QA performance. Ron's speech chat adds full duplex conversation after continual training on 119,000 hours of dialogue data. Teams needing bilingual speech understanding and generation should evaluate the open-sourced checkpoints. A new pull request adds support for Talkie 193013b-it inside the server backend. The 13 billion instruction-tuned model was trained only on pre-1931 English text and further aligned with online DPO. It enables historical roleplay without modern knowledge contamination. Reference code and the Hugging Face repo appear in the pull request. Developers building vintage language or time period simulation agents now have a ready-to-run 13 billion option. Shard delivers a drop-in Hugging Face cache that reduces LaMoth 3.18 billion KV memory by roughly 10 times at 8,000 context and 11 times at 32,000 context. It applies PCA plus int4 quantization to K after undoing rope and Hadamard rotation plus vector quantization to V. Attention runs directly on the compressed keys with no measurable degradation on Neahiath or Longbench. The repository sits at Krish1905/shard. Teams running long context local inference should benchmark shard against their current KV setup. A detailed thread examines how local users test prompt injection and jailbreak resistance before wiring models to tools, files, RAG, shell commands, or browser automation. Most current setups focus on quantization, context length, and tokens per second, while giving less attention to isolating tool access or logging calls. Builders moving local models into agentic workflows should adopt the read-only default and tool call logging patterns raised in the thread. Gartner warns that applying uniform governance across all enterprise AI agents is a death sentence. The report recommends differentiated policies based on agent autonomy and risk. One-size-fits-all controls will slow adoption without improving safety. Enterprise teams evaluating agent platforms should review the governance segmentation guidance before standardizing policies. An article outlines the primary production failure modes for agents and the first fixes teams should apply. It focuses on concrete engineering gaps rather than high-level strategy. Developers shipping agents should read the prioritized fix list before their next deployment review. A user measured real-world ASR performance on an Intel Arrow Lake NPU versus CPU. The NPU delivered 2.8 to 6.1 times speedups and 10 to 21 times lower energy for 10 to 60 second audio clips. The setup also frees VRAM on a 7900 XTX and beats a previous 3060 eGPU for short, smart home voice commands. The Wyoming Parakeet on Intel NPU repository is linked. Home Assistant or local voice developers should test the NPU path for always-on ASR workloads. A post explains how context is divided across parallel slots and asks about consequences of exceeding model max context or running two agents in parallel when VRAM allows. Practical questions cover performance, energy, and slot allocation. Anyone moving from LM Studio to the server backend for multi-agent setups should review the flag interaction details. A step-by-step guide walks through loading the Turing Enterprises/open-mm-rl dataset, building a reward function that checks exact matches, and exporting for gRPO. It covers schema inspection, domain analysis, and vision language prompting. Developers starting multimodal reasoning projects with verifiable rewards can follow the pipeline directly. A detailed post lists 9 concrete changes that eliminated crashes and delivered 49 to 65 tokens per second generation on a 14-inch M2 Max. The changes include a 60 Hz refresh rate, GGUF over MLX, wired memory limit, preserve thinking flag, open code instead of Claude code, and Q8 KV cache minimum. The author shares exact fan curves and I/O GPU wired limit meter settings. Mac users struggling with long agentic sessions should apply the refresh rate and memory limit steps first. Okay, let's pop the hood on the NPU results. Everyone treats NPUs as marketing gimmicks for LLMs, yet the real engineering story is about power state transitions rather than raw tops. An NPU can exit deep sleep and begin useful work in a few milliseconds, while a discrete GPU must ramp clocks, allocate buffers, and warm PCIe links. This difference only matters for short, bursty workloads. Once the task exceeds a few seconds, the GPU's higher sustained throughput wins. In the measured ASR case, the NPU delivered 4.8 times lower latency and 10.7 times less energy on 10-second clips precisely because it avoided the GPU's ramp-up tax. The practical decision rule is simple. If average inference length is under roughly 3 seconds and you already have an NPU in the SoC, route the work there. Anything longer or batch-oriented still belongs on the GPU. The gotcha most teams miss is that the NPU's advantage disappears the moment you add a second concurrent stream, because its limited 13 tops cannot hide behind parallelism the way a larger GPU can. Test the SkillOpt edit and validate loop on a code or spreadsheet agent you already maintain. The 1-to-4 edit convergence pattern is worth reproducing. Run the 35 billion parameter uncensored heretic GGUF on your preferred backend and compare tool call stability with and without preserve thinking enabled. Measure your current server setup with the parallel and context flags against the slot division behavior described in the thread before scaling to multiple agents. Try the Wyoming Parakeet on Intel-NPU setup on any Arrow Lake machine you have for short voice commands. The energy numbers are worth verifying locally. Apply the 60 Hz refresh rate and wired memory limit changes on any MacBook running long context sessions and remeasure prompt processing time. More consumer hardware diffusion LLM training runs are expected following the Open DLLM and D3 LLM code drops. Additional server backend pull requests for historical and vintage models will likely land as the Talkie-1930 effort gains visibility. Follow-up work on validation-gated skill optimization is anticipated. once more teams reproduce the auto-grader requirement. Tomorrow, keep an eye on expanded NPU integration examples for non-ASR workloads as the Intel Arrow Lake results circulate. That wraps up today's AI briefing. Share this with a developer or builder who wants to stay current. Subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.